What is up, guys? We are talking AEW today, and man, was that the greatest t shirt commercial ever, or am I crazy? We have a lot to cover. We're going to talk a bit about the product as a whole, we're going to talk about the four-way dance, and we're going to talk about the Joshi match that was the six-woman tag match, and then get some closing thoughts on AEW, where I see it going, and why I'm excited for it. It's going to be a packed episode. We're going to cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of the night. And it was their first pay per view, so not everything was perfect. There's no way it was going to be perfect first time out. But man, did they put on a good show for a first time out and really just excited me and excited everybody else that is a fan of wrestling that there was wrestling back in our futures. And that's just awesome. So let me just get this out of the way so we can get kind of the ugly done first before we even hop into the show. They really need to work on their commentating. That to me was the weakest and worst part of the entire show. Excalibur did fine the entire night. He really kept picking up the slack for the other two. He was the all-star on the booth who really kind of carried it home constantly throughout the night. JR, his lack of understanding of the current product and any product not WWE was very glaring at times. He did fine in like the Cody Dustin match and the Jericho Omega match that were more traditional American style matches, that he could follow the story and just kind of focus on those aspects. He did much better in those, but in a lot of the matches, he just seemed completely lost and unsure of what was going on, having trouble following the action, not really knowing the history between teams, not knowing any of the moves at times, saying the wrong moves. It was just, he was not the JR that you want in this situation. I'm hoping it was just kind of getting the rust off of not being in there for a long time, but there were some rough spots. I'm hoping once he gets back into the groove after being gone from commentating for so long, he will hit the ground running and get back into old form. But tonight there were some rough spots. It really kind of showed, especially on the matches that were styles he wasn't used to. You definitely felt like there was some missteps there. And then Alex Moraz, whatever his name is, just get rid of him. Put him backstage somewhere. Never let that man be near another open mic again. He brought absolutely nothing to the commentary. Every time he spoke up, it just drained the energy from whatever was going on. If the Maru from NXT can make two jobbers nobody's ever heard of sound like it's the Clash of Rock and Hogan, Alex there, he can make Rock and Hogan feel like they're the two jobbers that nobody should care about. He was so monotone, he was boring, he was bland. He would just randomly chime in and kind of just talk over people. He ain't it, Chief. He ain't it. They need to cut that quick. I think a two-man booth would be better anyway. Three-man just gets sloppy. It's one of the problems WWE has with their three-man broadcast teams. It just doesn't work well because you always have that one person who's trying to get involved but just can't. I would prefer to see them go down to two. I felt like Excalibur was a lot better at getting JR on topic than some other people have been that have worked with JR since he left WWE. I felt like Miraz just kept constantly throwing everything off the rails, and Excalibur had to keep trying to drag it all back on track and stop the confusion that Alex was causing. So that was the worst part for me. It was just the jumble that commentary was at times. And a lot of that I felt like went to JR's rust, JR's unfamiliarity with the modern product, and just Alex being so far out of his depth and just not having any kind of personality to make up for it. That, I mean, he could be telling you that Jericho is the second coming of Christ and we're all going to heaven, and he'd somehow make it sound like that's a bad thing because he would just make it sound so boring and awful that I just wouldn't want to do it. So he definitely has to go. That was by far the weakest point of the entire show, and definitely the only thing that kept at times pulling me out of matches was cringing at the commentary, and that's not good. Because I was trying to be invested, I was trying to get into it, and a lot of times I'd sit there and just kind of be like, that's not good. That just needs to. So I really hope they fix that by the next pay per view. Either go down to the 2-man booth or before the show, inject that man with adrenaline, do something, give him a whole 24 pack of Monster, just something to give that man something that resembles life, because he was just corpsing the entire night and it was just awkward and painful to listen to at times when he spoke and interjected himself into the commentary. So I hope they fix that up. But yeah, I mean, other than that, the show was great. I really enjoyed it. It was nice seeing a much different product than what WWE puts out. Every match was different from the match before it in all the right ways. It gave a little bit of something for everyone. So even if you weren't into everything on the card, there was probably something on the card you liked. If you wanted to throw back to ECW, you had some Tommy Dreamer, Jimmy Havoc stuff in the Battle Royal. You had the high flying, fast action cruiserweight stuff. You had the story driven match. You had the hard hitting matches. You had the more traditional matches. You had the Joshi. You had the women's. There was all kinds of matches, and that was great. For a first outing, this t-shirt company did pretty good at selling their product, and I think they're going to move a lot of t-shirts by the end of the night. Definitely the best 4-hour commercial for a t-shirt company ever. So with that said, let's hop in. Let's talk about these two women's matches, and let's dive in like we can only do here on Divas Dive. Alright guys, let's talk the AEW Women's Division. So, I immediately popped as soon as Kylie came out. I will admit, I missed the Pokemon theme. It's weird hearing her come out to anything other than that, because I've gotten so used to her kind of being the Pikachu of professional wrestling that you can't help but love. The new theme wasn't bad. I can definitely get behind it and get used to it. It definitely still has the fun, playful side that embodies everything Kylie does. But I do miss the Pokemon song. But I understand why it wasn't there. There's no way they were going to get licensing rights for that and it be affordable, because that's such a huge franchise. But and just watching her become overcome with emotion was just, it was such a sweet moment, because you can't help but love Kylie and cheer for her. And she came out, she struck her pose, and then you saw her take a couple steps back as it all sunk in, and you could see the moment that it sunk in on her when she was on the ramp, and she kind of took a few steps back and kind of just covered her mouth and was like, this is it, this is real, I'm really here. And you could see it sink in. It was such a great moment, especially for all of us that have followed her across the indies and seen everything she's done over the years, and the amazing matches she's had, and how many shows that she has just completely rocked it on and in front of just a handful of people and given it her all. It was really nice to see her on this stage finally, and knowing that she was going to get to be herself and not a watered down version that a bigger company was going to present to us. Because that was across all the matches tonight. That's what I really enjoyed, was we got to see these people doing what they love the way they love doing it. And it's not the watered down, neutered version that we get of a lot of people in WWE that we've all become so used to. Like, I hate when stars I love go to the WWE and get locked in there, because I know what made them great is probably not what I'm going to get to see when they get to my TV screen there, because I'm going to get some weird filtered, changed version of them. And just getting to see that she was still Kylie Rae when she came out it was really awesome to see that. So she came out, huge pop. I mean, everybody was excited to see her. I think everybody knew how special this moment was, and was 100% behind the one with the smile. for most of this match for sure. Um, Next out was Nyla Rose. Um, they they do need to work on getting the entrance music louder because you couldn't always. It didn't. It wasn't as how to say it. I look for the right word. I felt like with how her entrance works, the entrance music needed to be more powerful. I don't think the music they picked for her was bad. I just don't think it was loud enough. Like it didn't give you that intimidating monster coming down to the ring type vibe that you expect from that type of character. Like I was expecting the native beast to really just oomph. It didn't. The music didn't have that oomph that really gave you the gravitas of what kind of monster that Nyla Rose can be in that ring. And I hope they do work on that. And I think it might just be as simple as making the music pipe through louder into the TV system because it might have been plenty loud at the arena, but just the way it filtered out was not filtering very well. So maybe that's something they can look into as well. Just it's a personal pet peeve. I mean, some people might have enjoyed not being blasted with the entrance music. I just happen to feel like that adds a lot to the entrance when they can play off the music and you really feel it and kind of get into that mind state with them. So she came down, then Britt Baker came down. Wasn't crazy about her music. It sounded very stock, very traditional. I liked the graphics they gave her though. I liked how it opened up the Doctor Will See You Now, playing up the whole dentist thing. Um, the one thing I will say is I kind of want them to figure out where they want Britt to go because there were moments where she kind of came across as like a face, and then other moments she looked a bit more like a heel. I'm afraid of her getting lost in kind of that tweener role. So I would hate to see that. I kind of want her to either um go more face or kind of go the I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you, I'm more physically fit than you, bow down to the doctor kind of thing. I want her to kind of go one way or the other because I kind of felt like she was a little lost in the in how I was supposed to be cheering for her or kind of against her because she switched back and forth in her mannerisms towards the crowd. So I would like to see that get cleared up some. And then we got Brandy coming out, and now this is my biggest worry. And I beg, if anybody at AEW is seeing this, don't let Brandy become Stephanie McMahon 2.0 because she's getting real close between the Being the Elite videos and her promo here and how she was in Cody's match and the whole coming out to the Chief Brandy officer, Titantron and everything. She's getting real close to feeling like Stephanie McMahon 2.0. And I really don't want an evil authority figure angle. That's just so played out and so tired of it. And it's just, she's better than that. So I really hope they don't go that route because it really feels like they are. And I'm terrified that that's the way they're going. Because that is going to be so hard to get into. Because, I mean, when she walked out in that wrestling gear, I immediately went, oh, and this is where the show dies for me. Like, I was petrified that that's where they were going to go. If Brandy had inserted herself into that match, it would have been, oh, this is just WWE. Great. Good job at breaking all your promises. And she's teetering on that. She's teetering on falling off of this, just being a manipulative heel to falling into that authority role and just becoming Stephanie McMahon 2.0. And I think if she becomes Stephanie 2.0, that's going to turn a lot of people off because that part of WWE is what this fan base hates so much. Is we're tired of the McMahons, we're tired of Vince, we're tired of Stephanie, we're tired of Triple H on our TV screens. We're really tired of Shane right now. And we don't want to see that here. I don't want to just remove the name McMahon, insert the name Rhodes, and have it that way. So I really hope they don't go that evil authority match kind of way with this one because that would really really be disappointing to me, and I feel like that would be the wrong direction to go. So anyway, so she left us with the a good little promo outside of my heart palpitations that I was about to die on the inside that I was seeing 2.0 Stephanie. And then she revealed that she had a fourth entrant for this match to make it truly awesome. And we got Awesome Kong. So that was great. I was really happy to see Awesome Kong. She does great work. I was curious how she fits into this whole picture now, though. Is this a one-off, or is she going to be kind of like a shows up for certain storylines in big spots to get the pop? I felt like part of her being in this match was to help balance it out and give a veteran presence in the ring. Excuse me, for a stage this size. Because of the two women's matches, this one had probably the least amount of experience in front of big crowds of the two. As in the Joshi match, a lot of those girls have been doing huge shows in Japan most of their life. I mean, some of them that were only like 21 have been wrestling since they're 13, and they've been doing a lot of bigger shows over there and pulling the big crowds, and maybe not on this global scale like they were on display tonight, but they've done big arenas, they've done packed shows, and I felt like I don't I don't know if Kylie and Nyla have done shows this big. I know they've done decent sized shows for sure, but I know Britt did All In, so she has a little bit of experience with it. But I felt like the other two, you could definitely see the nerves in Kylie in her entrance, and you could definitely see some of the nerves in Nyla at the start of the match when they were all squaring off against each other. Um, so I felt like Kong potentially was there for the surprise factor and also to give a veteran voice in the ring to kind of help keep things moving if need be, and to kind of take some of the pressure off of them because all eyes would be on her while they got stuff going. So I'm curious to see if that's what it was, if it was just a, hey, this is us supporting you guys to make sure that you go out there and just do you, so the crowd be diverted at her while you get the steam going, or if this is the start of appearances by Awesome Kong to help build this women's division up in kind of the same way that I see them using Azure Kong on that side, is using that reputation and experience to help propel younger talents into the spotlight. So that will be very interesting to see. So the match got underway. I kind of feel like they didn't fully use Awesome Kong to as much as they thought they were going to use her. She got her big dominating spots in. She got to clear house a couple times and got to show that she was the monster. But a lot of her time was spent kind of brawling on the outside of the ring and taking super kicks to the face. I felt like they could have done a lot more with her. And I feel like if it is just a one-off, that's going to be a big waste of Awesome Kong. If it's going to be an ongoing, recurring kind of thing for her, then I think they left a lot of stuff here they could build off of, which would be great. Nyla Rose got her time to shine when she was in the ring with Kylie for a bit. We got to see what a monster of a woman should do, what your big beast of the division should look like. I do feel like they did hurt that narrative some, as we did get to see some of that, and we kind of got to see that this is how a beast should work when she's just running through the smaller competition. But I feel like there's going to have to be a passing of the torch now, because Awesome Kong was more intimidating and more of a presence than Nyla was in this match. So I really hope that they do start kind of a mini feud between those two, as I would love to see a big match between Nyla Rose and Awesome Kong, where Awesome gives Nyla that rub and kind of pushes her as this is the new generation, this is the new beast, she is Kong now kind of vibe to it, and give Nyla that rub, because I think it would go a long way in boosting Nyla to true native beast status in AEW. But I feel like Nyla Beast definitely did what she needed to do to start building the foundation for being that monster. And they had been building her up that way in the lead into this match, and I felt like putting Awesome Kong in the ring did hold her back some. It probably held Nyla back the most, just because Awesome Kong is such a presence and so dominant in that role that it immediately shrunk Nyla Rose to being kind of the secondary beast in the match. Like, you had Awesome Kong, who was your Godzilla. Nyla kind of became your Mothra, where Mothra is cool, but she's no Godzilla. So that was kind of, I felt like that the addition of Awesome Kong helped Britt look stronger as she pulled the win out, but hurt Nyla in pulling her back and making her feel less like the monster that AEW has been pitching her to be and that AEW needs her to be. I don't think it was anything detrimental, though. I definitely think there's plenty of easy ways for them to rebuild Nyla and get that lost ground and really show her as the monster. But I feel like they need to eventually have that natural beast versus Kong match and give Nyla the rub to really set her up as the dominant force to be feared in that women's division. But I mean, it was definitely a good outing. We got to see her, an amazing spine buster from her, a great Samoan drop from her. And she looked very intimidating when she was going one-on-one with Kylie at times, and Britt. So that was good. The spear on the outside, the Kong, was a little sloppy. Didn't look like it hit really that hard. I don't know if that was protecting Kong because she's been out of the ring for a while, or if that was just the camera angle. Made it look less devastating than they played it out to be. There were some wonky camera shots early on in the night that they fixed out later on in the matches. So I don't want to be too harsh on that spear because I felt like it could have also been a camera angle because we had a really weird kind of downward off to the side angle of it. So I feel like that could have taken some of the impact of a shot like that out. But that's just stuff that they definitely can go back, watch the tapes and go, okay, here's the production things we need to get better next time. I felt like the two women that came out the best in this match was for sure Kylie Rae and Britt Baker, as they got the most time center stage to really just kind of show off and show what they could do. I definitely think the win was a good rub for Britt Baker. I do want to see some more personality of her come out. She seemed very reserved compared to the other three women in the ring at times. Even in her celebration, she was very reserved. And I know she tends to be more on the reserve side from the few times I've seen her on the indies, but at this scale and this magnitude, she really needs to push that up tenfold and just really kind of just grab the ball and run with it. And I think she's definitely capable of it. I think she is a great one for them to kind of start to be hedging their bets on. I wouldn't be shocked to see Britt Baker as the first AEW Women's Champion, but knowing what they have coming up, I think she's going to have to really do a lot of work to get the fans behind her to get the push for that. Because definitely Kylie and Allie are going to be the cornerstone baby faces. Allie is used to working at a global level with her time in TNA. Excuse me, she was a multiple-time TNA champ. She was with the company at the height of their travels, their pay-per-views, during their short span when they were giving WWE something that resembled possible competition. So she's used to that much bigger stage. So I feel like she's going to come out the gate running, and Allie has her character down to a T, and she's very confident in her character. She knows how to play it. She knows how to get it over. She knows how to interact with the fans. She knows how to tell stories, and she's very good in the ring. So I feel like Allie is going to get a lot of people behind her very quickly. Kylie has a lot of people behind her just because she's so infectious and it's hard to cheer against her. Bea Priestley, when she comes into action, which I'm assuming will probably be Fight for the Fallen or Fyter Fest, will be one of the first times we see her. She has a very engaging character, and she's very good at selling her character and getting people behind her. And the whole Monster Within gimmick, I think, is going to go over really well with the AEW audience as they get to learn about that. And even some of the girls from the Joshi match, like Yuka, is a very lovable babyface type character at times. I feel like a lot of fans are going to gravitate towards her as well because she's confident in who she is when she's out there. And some of the other women in that match that we'll talk about. But I feel like that's going to be the only thing that will hold Britt Baker back is in ring. She is solid. It's just they really need to work on her finding a voice. It doesn't have to be a gimmick. It doesn't have to be something over the top. She needs a voice. And I feel like that was the one thing she was lacking was she didn't really have a voice like the other three women in the match did. Awesome Kong is very comfortable as being the big monster in the ring that is just crazy and loves to hurt people. Nyla Rose is very confident as the beast that kind of stalks you, destroys you, and leaves your body in shambles. Kylie is very much, she's just happy-go-lucky, smiley Kylie, and she just embraces who she is and what she feels fully and just throws it out there to the world. And I feel like Britt's the one that's still finding that voice to project to the fans. So I'm curious to see where they go with her. But it was a very strong match. Not the strongest women match. I think the 6-woman tag was much stronger of a match than this one was. Even after going back and rewatching them this morning, I still felt like this was a good match, but not a great match. I don't think they even hit the awesome match that Brandi was hoping for. I know a lot of people are raving about it, but I think it's just because I've seen better matches from Britt, Kylie, and Nyla, and Awesome Kong, because I follow women's wrestling so heavily that I felt like it was a good starting point, but it was far from what I wanted it to be. Because Dustin and Cody went out there and destroyed it. The Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers went out there and destroyed it. Omega and Jericho destroyed it. I never felt like the women got to that point. Because like even and Angelico and Evans versus the Best Friends, they went out there and they tore the house down. I didn't feel like the women's 4-way ever hit that fevered pitch that just really made it seem like these were the best 4 women that they had on the roster. And I think it could have been. I don't know if it was nerves. I don't know if it was because of time restraints, but whatever it was a very good match. It was better than anything the WWE has put out in a long while for the women. So I mean, it's going to win fans over that way if they were checking this out from the WWE side and are kind of like, well, I really like women's wrestling, but it's been awful here lately, so I'll just see what they're doing. This match definitely had a lot of high points that I felt were better than a lot of the main roster stuff WWE puts out. But this was, to me, it was a solid NXT match for a smaller takeover show. It was not going to steal anything away from what a lot of the NXT matches have been for girls, but it did blow out probably, I'd say, about 90% of what they've been doing on main roster lately. So I feel like it was a good showing, but I know these 4 women can give a lot more, and I think this is a entry level that they're going to build on. And I feel like when they go back and watch it, they're gonna notice that, hey, we brought it, but we didn't bring it. And I think next time we're going to see them come out and they're going to really bring it and really show that the women of AEW are something to be taken seriously. So that's my thoughts on the first match. Be sure to let me know what you thought of that. If you're listening to us on podcast, remember to give us a like, give us a subscribe, rate the podcast. All of that really helps us out here in growing and getting more sponsors for the show. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the bell, hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, so that way you can stay up to date with all the action happening all across women's wrestling as we cover pretty much everything here. So if you're enjoying this, if you're wanting to learn more about this, AEW and the women in there, we've got some awesome video series coming out soon that are going to break down the women on AEW, Impact, Ring of Honor, Shimmer, Shine, and a lot of other places, and kind of give you lists of women to check out based off some of the top women in WWE, so you can kind of find things you've already gravitated towards and enjoyed, and give you some other options to explore that will be in the same vein as them. So that's all coming forward soon. So be sure to give us a like and a subscribe so you're here for all of that. But with that said, let's look at the match of the 6-woman tag. That was a full-on display of what Joshi Wrestling should be. Alright guys, the last women's match that was on the card for AEW's first ever show of Double or Nothing was a 6-woman Joshi tag match. It pitted Hikaru Shida, who is on the AEW roster with her teammates of Rio and Ryo Mizunami, and they went up against Aja Kong, Yuka Suzuki, and Emi Sakura. This match, despite my butchering of their names, was one of my favorites. Um, I'm a huge fan of Hikaru's work, Rio's work, and Yuka's work, and Aja Khan is just a legend, and Emi is just a ball of energy and life in the ring. Um, Getting to see these women hit the ring and perform the way that they know how to perform without having to adjust or compromise their style was amazing to see. It was also great to see the crowd get so into it. They got a "This is Wrestling" chant. They got the crowd just really excited and really into this match. Um, the downside has been in a lot of the podcasts and follow-up reviews I've been reading, a lot of people are really down on this match because they weren't invested in it, and that's what everybody keeps coming back to, is that they didn't know any of the women, so therefore they had no investment in it, and they just kind of wrote the match off, or they weren't a fan of the style. And that's a shame, because I feel like a lot of people didn't give this match the chance it deserves, that a lot of fans got exposed to, and I'm worried that the follow-up that a lot of places are doing is going to taint what an amazing match this was, and what a huge moment this was to see these women with the background in Joshi get the respect they deserve on a stage like this. I mean, this is the respect that Asuka deserves, that Carrie, that just all the ones in WWE. This is what Io should be doing. This is what Sane should be getting. Like, they should be allowed to be themselves and not have to compromise that to get over. And I think this match proved that, as none of these women had to compromise who they were, how they work in order to get over. They just went out there, they told a story in the ring, they put their bodies on the line, they put on a great show, and the crowd got behind them. I mean, it was beautiful to see. And all of these women totally deserve this moment in the spotlight. It was great to see Aja Kong and Emi Sakura get a nod finally for all their years and years and years that they've dedicated to wrestling, to get put on a pedestal like this and get a chance to really shine on a global stage in a way that they haven't really been highlighted before to the mainstream wrestling world like they did here. And this match, it was amazing. It was by far one of the best matches of the night, in my opinion. I might have had a bit more investment in it than a lot of people, which could be why I enjoyed it so much more, just because of my following of a lot of these women in their Japanese promotions and things like that, that it might have gotten me a bit more on board with what was going on. I also feel like a lot of their great and hard work got overshadowed by the timekeeper screwing up and ringing the bell too soon on a 2 count. But I did like seeing the ref kind of held their ground and forced the match to continue, kind of showing that the officials do matter here, that they do actually have the final say, and it's not just, well, something happened, so we'll just go with it kind of mentality that it feels like at times in WWE. So that was awesome to see. A lot of really great spots here, a lot of really fast action. Everybody got to shine and do their thing and really show off. To me, the standouts in the match were definitely Hikaru Shida, who the match was based around to really promote, since she is the one on the AEW roster. Aja Khan and Yuka Suzuki, Sakazaki, sorry, all really got to show what they are. And I mean, it would be a shame to me if AEW doesn't pick up Yuka and make her a full-time member of the AEW roster, because she's so fun to watch. She's such a ball of energy. And Raihu as well. She's another young talent that I feel like definitely needs to get scooped up and used more of by AEW, as they're building this very diverse women's roster. I feel like the two of them definitely bring the most to the plate, and could definitely, the three of them, I mean, you could even bring Mazunami in too. I think she would be a great addition to the roster as well, and give another stronger woman a spot on the roster. But I feel like, I mean, for any of these 6, they're all amazing. I would like to see AEW bring in a lot more of these diverse styles. So I would really like to see like a Yuka Sasaki versus Kylie Ray. I think that would just be a really fun match to watch. Or see Riho versus Britt Baker. That would be another great match to see. So I mean, there's so many combinations I would love to see between these women that I would really like to see the AEW double down on some of this international flair and bring something different to the table that we're not seeing anywhere else. Kind of like WCW did with the cruiserweights, and ECW did with the luchadors and then things like that. Bringing that new style of wrestling over, I feel like AEW has the platform to really bring a lot of that Joshi to the States and highlight it in a way that would get over with the fan base they have and the fan base they're building. Because I feel like a lot of the fans would appreciate the fun and the excitement that those women can bring to a women's division here in AEW. If you haven't checked this pay-per-view out, it's definitely worth it. Both matches were just so amazing that the women put on. This one was by far my favorite of the night, though, of the two. We got to see Aja Kong on display and just her brutality of just taking it to people. We got to see the fun, playful side of that, and just the pure athleticism and seriousness of striking that came with it as well. I mean, there was so much talent in that ring that it was just a fun match to watch, and watching the crowd just embrace what it was and get behind them and just enjoy the show they were putting on was amazing to see. Like I was excited for them just because getting to see them display what they love and not have to hinder it, and seeing the crowd just buy into it because of how good they are at it. It was just amazing to watch. And that happened a lot throughout this pay-per-view, where the performers got to be themselves, men and women alike. They got to go out there and they got to do what got them over. And that's what I really like about AEW, is they're going, you're amazing at what you do. People buy into what you do, so go out there and be you. Don't go out there and try to fit into the American market. Don't go out there and try to fit our mold of what you should be. Just go out and do you and get over being you. And that's just so refreshing to see. And that just made it so exciting. Just getting to see these performers get to be themselves on this kind of stage. I mean, I can't wait to see what comes next. I can't wait to see what the future holds for AEW. This was step one, and there's a whole lot more steps to go. But this step right here, definitely people took notice of. And if you're a fan of women's wrestling, you had to take notice, and you just had to see that this is what women's wrestling could be. This is what it should be. This right here did more for the women's revolution than the WWE has done in the past year. They respected every woman in the match. They didn't use anybody as fodder to get their preferred person over. They let the women be themselves and go out there and do what they do best and just put a show on. If this continues, AEW is going to be a huge contender for some great matches in women's wrestling. Their roster is stacked. The talent is there. Now they just need to let that talent go out there and shine. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see what gets added to Fight for the Fallen. I'm excited to see what gets added to All Out. I know we have a Brandy versus Allie match at Fight for the Fallen. That should be a really good match. I'm curious to see what other matches get announced. I'm hoping we'll get a Bea Priestley match on one of those upcoming shows as well. And maybe an announcement on the women's title and a tournament or something to start moving towards that. A lot of really exciting things. Let me know what you thought of AEW. What did you think of the women's matches? Who stood out to you? Who do you want to see more of? What was your highlights? I'm excited to talk about all of it. Throw it in the comments. Hit us up on Twitter about it. Just let us know. And again, I'm Gary Cook. This has been a Divas Dive looking at AEW, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I hope you guys enjoyed that show as much as I did, and I can't wait to see more of it and talk more about it as we go. But I am exhausted, so I'm gonna go sleep finally. It just took me, I mean, I watched it and I rewatched things, and it took me a while to get through all of it, and I just haven't recovered. It was an emotional pay-per-view on so many levels. It was just draining, and I'm still tired from it. But it was awesome. Wrestling is in a great spot right now. This was a great boon for women's wrestling, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So let me know your thoughts on it, and let's see where this roller coaster of professional wrestling goes. I'm excited, and I hope you all are as well.